කියලා ඉවරයක් කරන්න බැරි තරම් නිෂ්පාදන පෙළක්. කිල්ස් නිෂ්පාදන අනිම මිලට හොඳම තත්ත්වයෙන්.
The IMF Executive Board's approval to complete the third review recognizes the strong program performance. All quantitative targets for end December 2024 were met, except for the indicative target on social spending. Most structural benchmarks due end January 2025 were either met or implemented with delay. Despite these positive developments, the economy is still vulnerable. It is critical to sustain the reform momentum. There is no room for policy errors. Boosting tax compliance and refraining from tax exemptions are key to maintaining support for economic reforms. Restoring cost recovery electricity pricing without delay is needed to contain fiscal risks from state-owned enterprises. We have looked at the budget and have, of course, discussed it with the authorities. Tax revenue was a key driver of the crisis. Sri Lanka was the country with the lowest tax take amongst middle and low-income countries. Since then, tax as a share of GDP has increased by 5 percentage points. That's a significant increase, but by no means is excessive. The essential services that the government provides need to be funded. For that reason, ensuring that there is sufficient tax revenue remains a priority.
Doctors are threatening to go on strike from tomorrow. How concerned are you that this kind of growing labor unrest, how it will affect the overall IMF program?
There is, for the first time in a long time, an increase in civil service wages, while at the same time, the personal income tax is being reducing considerably. Everyone who can needs to make a sacrifice. Sticking with the reforms is really the best way out for Sri Lanka to assure its sustainability. It's important for everyone in Sri Lanka to recognize that. This is the last budget where there is still a bit of an increase in revenue is needed, 1.5 percentage points of GDP, and thereafter it'll be much easier going forward.
On the SOE restructuring, the most crucial element is that the state-owned enterprises are managed in a prudent manner so as to avoid the accumulation of losses or debts. In that sense, the SOEs can be managed prudently while remaining state-owned, or they can be divested partially or completely. Reassured by the authorities' commitment to ensure that these enterprises do not become a burden for the budget or for the government debt. Other commitments under the program include making the SOEs more transparent, and then to allow the economy to grow, it is important that the consumers of services receive the best value for the price they're being charged. This involves running SOEs in the most efficient manner and ensuring that they're following the best governance principles. We're quite satisfied with the progress here.
Protecting the poor and vulnerable is an important component of the EFF program. So the EFF supports this objective through the different reforms, through macro stabilization, but there is also a floor on social spending in the program that we assess on a quarterly basis. This means the government has to spend a minimum amount to protect the poor and vulnerable. The key commitment is for the authorities to continue strengthening the coverage, the adequacy, and the targeting of social spending. Recent announcements related to the expected increase in the payments for the poor and extremely poor categories under Aswasuma, or the announcement that the payments would also increase for the elderly, the disabled, and chronic kidney patients are aligned with the authorities' commitment to continue strengthening social safety nets. It is also very important to make sure that this coverage under the Aswasuma program is above the poverty rates that are currently.
Sri Lanka lost 10% or so of its economic activity as a result of this crisis. Since then, it has already recovered 40% of the income it has lost in the preceding 5 years. Things are turning around significantly in Sri Lanka. As economic opportunities return, incomes will increase and poverty will be reduced, and it'll be more attractive to remain in Sri Lanka and not leave. Those who have emigrated may find opportunities back in Sri Lanka again.